What's happening, my guys? So I am super stoked for this episode. It's been in the pipeline for a long period of time. So for anyone that doesn't know already, my name's Kristian Hill. I'm the founder of Ready for Anything. And the guest that I actually have on today is my mentor, Darren Lee, who I've been working with closely for the last 10 months. And it's been transformational for my mindset, my lifestyle, and most importantly, my business and my level of thinking with that as well. So if you're someone that's trying to get a one-up in life, trying to build more freedom, more wealth, and just get past your own mindset that's actually holding you back right now, then this episode is for you. But make sure before you've done that you've hit subscribe to the channel. Enjoy. So obviously, thanks very much for coming on the podcast, mate. And I was actually thinking about this when I was going over some questions today, and I was reflecting. Where I actually first came across you was on Colin Campbell's podcast with David McIntosh.
It's a blast from the past.
It was a while ago, and I remember it's just funny how you end up in these situations. Sitting in the room now, I've been working with you for the last 8 months. No, 10 months. 10 months,
nearly
yeah.
a
10
year.
months to January, yeah, nearly a year.
You did nothing in December, I remember.
Yeah.
You came in, you did one thing, you got a massive result, and you ran away. You were like, yeah, it's working. I was like, all right.
So, yeah, man, it's just funny how you kind of get to this point. But to get everyone kind of up to speed, mate, what's a brief summary of who you are as a guy, mate? What you're doing here in Bali, who you are as an entrepreneur, what your livelihood is to get everyone up to speed.
I guess my values are I believe that you should put your energy, time, and all of your time basically into things that you truly enjoy, right? So if you enjoy fitness, like yourself, and I think for me, in a world of mediocrity, right, people love people who are obsessed. So that's why we're kind of cut from the same cloth, right? You've been from fitness, me from the business background, and I think that's what allowed me to spend the past 5 years with Voix specifically, scaling businesses. And then before that, man, I've been doing this since I was 17, 18 years old, you know? So if you go all the way back, if you want me to go a little bit further back, when I first, I don't even think you realize this, I was getting into building businesses since I was 16 initially, running events. And then from there, I went into running my first startup by the time I was 21, and I ran another startup before I was 23. And all of those, literally all of those failed. And it created that kind of itch within me. It was there's something missing. There's as I like to say, there's 1 degree off. And that was always my case when I was younger. You know, not smart, but didn't have those ducks in a row, but I was always trying different things until I found my content, until I got into content. It was time to slow down, listen, and learn. And that's when I basically devoted the past 5 years to still playing the student to this very day, you know? And that allowed me to have a very big, fast feedback loop. And now, just for a bit of context for people, we do many different things, but in essence, we basically help business owners grow with content and sales. So we run the show for people. I own 2 agencies. One's a content agency, one's a recruitment agency. And then we have a very large education business, helping business owners, guys from people like yourself to people that are doing multiple 7 figures a year, scale their business with content. And now obviously have a software company too that helps them with sales. But yeah, man, that's kind of the whole kind of essence. And I think these kind of values that I have had over the years is the reason why I attract people like yourself, you know? And I think that's a very core essence. And we can go further back, right? Because I've even funnier stories too about how I got into this space as well before then.
It's funny because I was recently watching a YouTuber, and his name's Jack, I can't remember, Pembroke. And he's just one of these silly YouTubers, does videos, but he's got millions of followers. And I went back to his first video, and it was basically, you think he's only been doing it since that first video.
Yeah.
And then you watch back and he had several other channels that all dramatically failed that he'd been doing for a long period of time. And you actually explaining that to me there, my understanding that you, Darren, was that you worked in fintech before. So then I was like, Jesus Christ, this guy's a hell of an entrepreneur. He's really only been doing this for 5 years, because when I look at your podcast and you're you actually explained that to me there, and I didn't even know that. I didn't know that it went as far back as that.
Let's take a step back, because I think what's important for this conversation is you're Scottish, I'm Irish. It's basically the same thing, right? It's basically the same thing. Just for a bit more context, I grew up in a family with no business owners, nothing, low income household. I think combined income from my parents was in around €20,000 roughly for a year. No one was an entrepreneur at all, but I wanted to always get out of what I was doing, right? So the first story I have of whenever I did something was I was 5 years old, and my grandfather at the time, you'll love this, gave me a 5-liter bottle, empty, thankfully, of vodka, those old bottles of vodka. And he said, go fill this up with pennies, and I'll give you notes back and more, okay? That was my first entrance into accumulation, scarce resources, finding scarce resources, accumulate resources, get those to get more things. I literally ran around the house finding coins under the couch. I went on then from doing things like cutting grass for people, doing favors for people, doing anything to build this jar to exchange for money. And that's when it sparked it for me. Because it was always this idea of, I have scarce resources, which was the whole way up through my teens. I need to find a way to grab resources elsewhere. Because that's all the business is. It's the allocation of resources to get more scarce resources. So that's when I was like 16, 17. I was a super fucking broke. And I was like, I want to find a way out of this. What did I enjoy? Partying. What did I get into? Running events. I was running college balls, parties, raves, events, a combination of different things. That spectacularly finished. And then I went on to selling rave clothes to rave kids when I was 20. Because that was a time where like the music industry was super booming. It became very commercialized. And I was selling clothing from the south of Italy that I imported into my apartment in London. And I was selling it through my apartment in London, all through Shopify and everything. And that was my first like entrance into the online space.
Yeah.
And I was like selling things quite frequently online. And it was interesting because that game is you buy stock, it literally stays in your apartment, and then you have to sell it from your apartment. And I was just figuring stuff out though. This is the thing. I was building Shopify stores. I was modeling all the clothes. I can show you some photos afterwards. They're so funny. I was like, modeling all the clothes myself. And that came to a spectacular finish when cash flow caught up with me because you're running so much ads to sell the clothes. And again, I had no cash to pay for the inventory. A ton of inventory that was sitting there. Came to a crashing end. And those were my first two kind of entrants into, damn, I'm close. Until, where software comes into this, is that I did engineering in school. I did like a variation of engineering in business. And it was really tough, like extremely difficult. But this is before like AI code and everything. And I'm dyslexic. I can't tell the difference in angel and angle. And I was doing this engineering course, which is literally a language. Like programming is a language. But because my background was in that, I knew I wanted to get into that because I knew it had like high leverage, all this kind of stuff. So I come out of university. I had just been traveling kind of in and out of Asia and all this kind of stuff. And I was like, okay, I want to build a software company because the other two things didn't work. I want to try to figure this out. So the startup was the first ever digital passport. And how to validate the idea, because it was going to cost me so much money to build, I would go to Dublin Airport at the weekend and I would stand at the departure lounge. And when someone would walk in, I'd ask them would they use it. I was literally doing customer research in Dublin Airport at 22 years old. Now, many years later, you could probably say I was a security threat. But at the time, they kind of let the kid off. And again, built a prototype, built an MVP, tried to get into different countries because they'd have to be government approval, couldn't get investment, failed. And then it was only because I had that background in engineering and they kind of saw I had kind of the guts to build something that failed. That's when I got into like the fastest growing startup of all time in Europe. Grew the hell out of that. That was a crazy like 2.5 years experience. And that was so difficult though. Like that was so painful that when I kind of eventually went into the online space, I wanted to get out of it. Because I had scars down my face, man. Yeah. Like it's like that VC world is so bloody that, you know, I almost like would never wanted to go back to it. Mm-hmm. And now it's ironic because I'm back to it, but not with a VC lens. But I say all this because like I'm just like an ordinary person. Like that's the thing, right? But I'm kind of like constantly tinkering with things. Mm-hmm. And I feel like it's when you stop doing that, stop piquing the curiosity, stop itching to scratch, or what I like to say is stop sticking your head in a door. Like I've put my head in many doors where I just simply do not belong, which has allowed me to have like that kind of wedge. Mm-hmm. And that wedge and edge is just kind of like what separates you in a very homogenous market. So I say all that because like that's kind of led me to like even where we got to with Vox, and like how Vox kind of took off was because of the fact that I just really, really, really don't believe in being set in your ways. And especially even with you and your coaching right now, like you're very receptive to me. So when I'm like, hey, we got to go build this thing, you're like, yeah, versus, oh, the industry says it should be like this. Mm-hmm. You know, and our mutual friend, Jack, he was actually kind of like that. He was like, oh, but it should be like this. I'm like, bro, forget what it should be like. Do what's actually working. Yeah. Do what's going to make money. And I think that's allowed us to have that kind of like overnight success. Yeah. That people kind of see now. But yeah, man, this stems for me like, 13 years basically from when I first started.
Chewing glass.
Yeah, man, just chewing glass. And I think it's funny because I have a difficult position that we're in with a business is that a lot of the people around me have never been in the position that we're in.
Yeah.
So the issue is that no one understands, like actually quite literally, quite personally, what it actually experienced to carry the level of pressure that we have. So people's natural reaction is actually to close down and take a step back and be like, oh, you should take more time for yourself. And it's like, people don't understand that the reason why people get stuck is because they're up against a barrier and they're not willing to break through. So you do high rocks, you know the difference between a 102 high rocks and a 59. It's dramatically different. They're different people, different person, different activities. What is the difference if someone goes like 104, 105 down to 59? An extra 3 years of training or whatever that may be equivalency, right? And it's like, where are you in that break right now? And where do you want to pull back? And if you want to pull back, that's fine. But it's like, for what reason are you doing it? You know, and a lot of my lifestyle now has been created around the business, and a lot of it's designed around the business. And I can get into a bit more detail as to how that's created to get the result that we want to go to where we want to. So, yeah, man.
That was exactly what I wanted to come on to, because that was my biggest question. Because it's almost like when you're going up a gear as an entrepreneur, you go through different paradigms. I always say you start off as someone that you go from being employed to then being self-employed, which you're kind of just trading time for money. You're kind of following the same model as you were following when you were employed. Then you become a business owner where you actually start understanding like the trade-off of like the product or the thing that you're doing, and you start to actually value it a bit more, you value your time a bit more. But then you actually become an entrepreneur, and an entrepreneur is someone that understands how to position, how to be smart with their time, how to push, how to pull. And every time you're kind of going through those levels, some people just stagnate at different points, but it's because they can't actually tolerate going to the next point. What would you say to someone right now that is, they feel like they're treading water, man? They feel like they're kind of in the thick of it. It's been longer than what everyone says it should be. It's been months on end now. What would you say to them? So
it is true that it's going to take like twice as long and it's going to cost you twice as much. But respectfully, as a man, a lot of a man's life is suffering. It's providing, it's doing the uncomfortable, and it's kind of like quite literally shit, right? That's what a lot of a man's life is in general. And it's like, it's quite literally kind of choose your heart, because I remember at the beginning of OX, I was living in Singapore. I would wake up with heart palpitations, literally heart palpitations. 3 a.m., I would rush to my laptop. I would do outreach from 3 a.m. till 12, outbound. My eyes would start bending inwards. And at 12, I was literally disheveled as a person. That is hard. Making 5K a month, 2K a month, living in an apartment in Singapore, that is difficult. Equally, where we are now, trying to get to 8 figures a year, that is extremely difficult, but for a different reason. And then some might say, oh, well, like, it's easy for you, like, you have money and everything. It's different things, different responsibility, and so on. So it's like different level, different devil. There's different levels to it. At all points, like, the universe is actually testing your stress tolerance. And because when you move up a gear, you become more resilient to it. That's why you have calluses on your hand after you've been training in the gym for so many years. You pick up a 90 kilo weight and 90 kilo barbell, it feels awfully different than when you just started. That's part of that. And I think there's a few different ways to look at it. On a long enough time horizon, all these small blips, they're nothing. They're meaningless. And you also won't remember them. You do actually remember like the highlights of your life and the big parts. So it's like all these negative things, they're just small blips. And I think when you get that, when you reach that point of resistance, you have to think of a few things, right? A kind of sobering thoughts is, and I say this to a lot of clients, is like, what's the alternative? Right? You don't like doing outreach. You don't like doing marketing. You don't like doing delivery. What's the alternative? You want to go back to that job? Go ahead. Because quite frankly, I can't save you if you're not willing to do the thing that you need to do in your business. Now, I'm not saying you need to be like miserable and suffer through it, but if you don't like it, then hire it, right? Find the solution to it, because there's a solution to every problem. You know, whether that's quite literal or that's maybe try something else or and so on and so forth to do with that thing. But I really, really struggle with the person that's saying that they're not willing to do that action, especially when, you know, down the line, you're going to have knock-on consequences. Maybe you have kids, you're married, you're engaged, whatever that may be. So it's like, as a guy, you kind of do owe that to yourself to get your shit together. Now, the other side of it then is the opportunity. I truly, truly believe that if you're lucky, extremely lucky, you have 2, maybe 3 big shots in your entire life. with your business. At best, you have 3. Because what that means is you have to be in the right market at the right time, the right environment, the right experience and the skill set, and then all the luck that comes in with that. And if you're not capitalizing on that opportunity, man, best of luck to you. Like if you can't pull yourself together to spend those 2 years of working on this in this next season, I can't help you, right? And that's the way I kind of identified when things started clicking with Vox. It was just like things were moving, and it's like, all right, like whatever, let's just scale it. Let's just keep going. Let's keep pushing, because those opportunities are few and far between. It's very true that the guys in the coaching space, info space, agency space, they go up, they tether down, they go down. I know actually many famous people that are just like, good YouTubers and stuff. It's happened to them, and now they're back, baseline. So it's like if you catch that wave, ride it. If you find yourself having a bit of resistance, solve it. But don't exit the market, because when you leave, you got to think about it. Followers, clients, whatever that may be, they'll remember you've left.
You're that person.
You're that person. And you come back and you're like, I got this new shiny new thing, this new business that I'm pushing right now. It's like, but you did that thing and then you stopped doing that thing, which is kind of one of the reasons why I still have the agency. Started in 2021. It's still there around to this day. Yeah, it does good numbers, quality numbers, but we've always had it, right? We've always had it. So it's like, it's just undeniable. It works. The team's solid. It's undeniable. And yeah, man, I kind of think about this, and that's the reason why we've kind of gone very hard on the software the past couple of months. We've pushed the education very hard over the years, because it's like, look, I may not get another chance.
Yeah, I've been talking about that too. It's that full year, the 10 year, no, overnight success takes 10 years.
It's like behind
words out there.
Yeah, it's like behind everyone's overnight success is 10 years. Basically working in the dark effectively. Yeah.
There was a point this year, where I've just had a lot of things kind of happen all at once. Like I had a friend going through like a pretty tough time, like my bank froze and I had to fly to Dubai, remember? Like so many things going on. I had issues with my editor went AWOL with all my content. Obviously my YouTube shut down recently. Yeah. There's just been like a lot of things, but the thing that I've really learned, and you said something there, is that it calluses you.
Yeah.
And even like, obviously I won't go into the sort of news that we spoke about this morning, but I received some news this morning and I woke up and just went, cool, yeah, I'll deal with it. And the more you have to go through that point of chewing glass, it's almost like you get your head rubbed up and down a sandpaper wall. And for a lot of people, they have it stroked off at once and they're like, I can't do this. I cannot do this. This is like, there has to be another option. But it's learning to understand the trade-off that goes with it as well. Yeah. Like what it actually gives you. And the conversation I had with a client actually today was they were talking about a limiting belief that they had, that was talking about it on a call Monday. And it was basically, what story are you telling yourself that contradicts the thing that you're actually trying to achieve? And it was like that they actually are selling their business right now, their family business, but she's also training for like a High Rocks, but she's also equally in one of the best spots she's ever been in. And she's saying, is this the right thing? Am I trading too much time? But then she was also like, but my mindset is the best it's ever been. I'm on point. I've never felt this good in my body. And it's like, the thing that you are questioning is the thing that's giving you everything, that's making you the best you've ever been. Yeah. And you need to remember that in times when they're hard, because so many folk just get caught up in what is not happening, or the challenge or the frustration. And it's like, as you said, what is the option?
And also, you kind of asked for this, right?
Yeah.
And the irony was, my wife said this to me. We're sitting, I'm like exhausted, coming back from the office, super tired, super run down. And I'm lying on the couch in this like beautiful all white villa that's like, yeah, beautiful villa that we have with all of our dogs and everything. And she's like, many years ago when we lived in Singapore, you wouldn't have believed that this scenario was possible. And now you're in this scenario and you're complaining that you're tired. So get on with it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like literally just get on with it. Like, appreciate it. Yes, I understand that you're tired. Yes, you need to take a bit of time for yourself. But like many years ago, you would have said it's not possible. So that's where everyone, no matter where you're at in your journey, you need to have that a little bit of appreciation, which allows you then to be like, okay, great, we're in a good position. This is tough. Let's get it fixed. Let's move on.
Yeah.
And yeah, man, it broadens your perspective, and that's why, people know that your business is a reflection of you, and also your clients are actually a reflection of you. But when you have a problem, your personal problem manifests in your business. Always. Yeah. You don't have a business problem. You have a personal problem that's showing up in your business. So how do you react to that, right? Yeah. And I think where I see this go down a lot is when people don't do the personal development externally, and then they show up in their business and they're absolutely hot-headed. I say this because I used to be like this. When I was running the agency on my own, I would go up and be like, why is this way? And why does this not work this way? And it was me. I wasn't I couldn't regulate my nervous system to show up and be like a charismatic leader. Instead, I was like a dictator, effectively. And then that was showing up in my business. Whereas I hired a COO, I recognized my issues, I stepped out of it. Then I hired Tom at the time as a client success manager. He stepped in, got me out of the minutia detail. And then the same thing happened with education, right? Went in initially, I was over-delivering, over-promising, all that kind of stuff. I took a step back. What was the minimum effective dose I need to apply to get the result? What does Tom need to do? He came in then as co-owner quite recently. And it's like looking at what the business needs versus what I need. And it's a really important point. Because I think in this like coaching space, there's a real big issue whereby people are putting too much of their own emotion into their business. Now, I'm not saying you need to be absolute like an incel, but at the same time, you do need to keep your emotions slightly separate as long as the emotions are having a negative impact on your business. I see this over and over again. The amount of my competitors, let me take a step back. The amount of competitors that started with me on my podcast back in the day, now I'm not known for my podcast anymore, but I was. All those guys had such an emotional reaction to creating content. Why are my views up? Why are they down? Why am I not getting engagement? I'm like, dude, shut the fuck up. Just do the thing. And then you'll get the result of long enough time horizon. All those guys quit. They're all gone. They're all gone. Same in the business world. All the guys, chilling a new mechanism, do it this way, follower ads, this stuff. They're in, they get a big Stripe screenshot, they get a bit of resistance, and they're out. And it's like, dude, how do you think you're ever going to be successful at anything if you're just looking to just ride your emotions through this? And I remember seeing this thing years ago where it's like, when you look at your emotional state, you never want to be 10 out of 10 when a client signs, 1 out of 10 when a client leaves. You always want to be between 6.5 and a 4.5. Sign a client, great. Lost a client, who cares? Keep going. And that emotional stability is the reason why you do really good things or really bad things. And using another analogy, if you look at like a football team and it's in like extra time and they're 1 goal up, what do you think they're doing? They're regulating themselves. They're taking a breather, they're relaxing, they're trying to get through the next 10 minutes. Why? Because if they're frantic up here, they're going to fuck up. And we got to take that analogy of football or like golf or maybe tennis, where a lot of it is emotional regulation, into your business. Yeah. And it's the same with a relationship, right? You notice yourself if you get in an argument with your missus. If you blow up, you fuck up, quite literally.
Yeah. There is definitely obviously I know that all businesses are different in consulting, depending on what world you're in, of info, coaching, mentoring, whatever you want to call it. But there is actual like financial brackets that people get stuck at because of the problem that they're facing.
100%.
So like the £3,000 to £5,000 per month, people that are south of there are typically people that are still got a lot of limiting beliefs around. Yes. I can't post that, I can't talk about that. Yeah. What will they say? What will they do? And it's not actually their business. It's them. And it's then the next point is then they get to they scale up a little bit more, then it becomes the team that's the issue.
Dude, oh my God, I talk about this all day. So again, your limitation in your business is to do with yourself. The reason why you're not making more money is because of you. You are the reason why you're not making money. It's not because of your mechanism. It's not because of your business model. Coaching, agency. Dude, we have an agency that's all based on rev share, half it. We can make as much money as possible, providing we find the right people. Same with coaching. We can sign more clients because we have scalable coaching. Okay? So I say all this because it's not a business problem. It's you as a problem. And I know this to be true because I can spot that kind of psyche of clients when they almost expect the world, but then can't show up for themselves. And a typical example of this is they start to set expectations that are just not real. So my old mentor said to me, never have a conversation with someone who's not in the room. And these guys kind of create this dialogue, this inner dialogue. Life should be like this. I should get this. You should do this for me. So no. No one has to do anything for anyone, quite frankly. Even if you sign a client, you don't like them, you can refund them. There's always like an out. Does that make sense? But the reason why they're not progressing is because of those limiting beliefs. I have had an example with that quite recently. And I literally looked at this person and I was like, this is the reason why this person is not going to be successful. It's because they create covert contracts. It's an internal dialogue and negotiation with themselves of how the world should be. And it's funny, man, because I've actually had interactions with this, instances where someone would think something different. Like they might think that a contract was longer than what it was. But it was their mistake. But because they had the dialogue, they won't backtrack. And it's like, this is an opportunity for you to self-correct, course correct, say that there was a mistake and go do it, but they won't do it. And you extrapolate that, relationships, fitness, everything. they get caught.
Yeah. Have you heard of the drama triangle?
No.
It's like a psychological sort of framework to what people do. And you've got the coach, you've got
You told me this.
the challenger,
Yeah.
and then you've got, is it the prosecutor? And it's basically this sort of triangle of like, if you it's the victim, the challenger, the prosecutor. So basically what happens, there's the drama triangle and there's the empowerment triangle. Obviously, like, does what it says in the tin. The drama triangle is a cycle that folk get into where if you're back and forward and there is resistance between it, whether that's coach, client, whatever it is, B2B, B2C, and eventually it can flip on its head, where eventually they become the persecutor and they start to be like, it's you that's made me feel this way. It's you that's the problem. And it's because it flips round on itself. And if you spend enough time blaming your circumstances, you eventually get exhausted and you start to externalize everything that you're doing. And it no longer becomes a you thing. You take zero responsibility. And that's when you speak to folk that say things like, yeah, I've done this before, but it didn't work out because, and you're like, it didn't work out because of you.
Yeah.
Like, there is people doing the thing that you wanted to do amazingly. They didn't have this special, unique, yeah, they might have caught that wave that you spoke about, but they persevered, they chewed the glass, they looked at their weaknesses, they turned them into strengths, and they actually allowed themselves to go through the process and be someone that was able to do it. And it's, a lot of people just don't realise that everyone just thinks they're special. Yeah. Everyone thinks that, like, their circumstances are different, that they're unique, and that's where I've definitely seen, that's why the link between personal development and business progress is like, see people that try and deny it, and they're like, no, it doesn't. You're like, you're actually an idiot. Like, this is actually like so idiotic that. And
even it goes a step further, which is like, even if you think it's not true, or even if you think there isn't a link, it actually manifests when you do make those changes, right? And I'll give you a few tactical examples. You know Tim Stoddard.
Mm-hmm.
So Tim is my client. I teach him sales, but Tim was my mentor back in the day. And I'll never forget, he coached me on scaling the agency. And I was making $13K a month, and I was working like 18 hours a day. And I was in Body Factory, and I had a call with him. And he said, do you think you're better than everyone else in the world at what you do? And I was like, no. And he's like, so why are you doing everything in your business? Why not put people in there that are better than you to do the thing? And it was like, oh, I can't do this. I know more than anyone else on this thing. I can run a company better than anyone else. And then it was until I took a step back, actually hired Piyush, my COO now. He started running things. That's when we started going up from 13 to 20 to 30 to 40 to 50, because I had let go. So that was a part of my own development. And then the same thing happened when we got hit like 50K a month. It was like the model that we had wasn't as like basically like foolproof. We had to find new ways. My creativity, like how I was thinking creatively, how much time I was giving myself personally to think creatively, allowed me to look at solutions to keep us growing. So they're all personal pursuits. And right now is the exact same thing. As we're going into software now, a lot of my time for 2026 is going to be about developing partnerships. So I could be with, let's say, marketplaces or marketplace owners and so on, sitting down, looking at deals, looking at what makes sense. That is, again, a creative pursuit of me letting go of my boundaries of what I think things should be and letting the universe tell me, okay, I got to go this way. I got to start thinking in this way. And it's always going to be that, man. Always going to be that case.
See, you mentioned before, like, obviously kind of backtracking a bit, you're talking there about beliefs that you have, about things that you need to let go of. Yep. One of the biggest beliefs that limits a lot of people is the relationship with money. See, obviously being from Ireland, like as you said, Scottish to Irish, basically same thing.
Same thing, same area.
Yeah, same thing.
Speak to anyone abroad, they think they're the same country anyway.
Yeah, you get called Scottish Diddy, don't you, on your ads? Scottish
Diddy, Irish Diddy. And
that's like the most offensive thing ever, calling someone Diddy.
It was so funny because I didn't get it, right? I didn't get it initially, and then I like looked at it, and then it's like a thing people do on ads. Yeah, you know, and
as if you're like a scam artist.
Yeah, I think it's hilarious, you know.
Well, I got my first abusive comments this week on my ads, so they must be performing well. Yeah, I'm really happy.
There is a strong link between how much money you make and how much abusive comments you get on Instagram. There's a strong.
I got really offended by when someone wrote something like bang average physique, right? Oh. And then he got 6 likes. I was like, no. I was like, that's like, see, but at the same time I was going, what's good then if that's bang average?
Someone commented, someone sent me a DM saying that I really like how you're like taking a new step forward for like orc style entrepreneurs because you look like an orc. And I just responded being like, that was great. Well done, man. Thank you. I'm glad you put aside 15 minutes of your day in some shitty Tesco toilet to send me this message when you're working.
Someone gave me a really niche abusive comment. They wrote, "I bet you don't even run a sub 19 5K." And I was like, that's so niche, and it's like not really offensive.
Yeah. And it's like, yeah, I don't. I'm actually not that talented.
But it's crazy. But I can't even remember what we were going on to talk about.
Oh,
We were talking about
relationship
mindset.
with money.
Yeah. So for yourself, what sort of limiting beliefs and sort of roadblocks did you kind of have to break free of, like growing up in Ireland and then getting into entrepreneurship?
I think the biggest one was the fear of what other people would think about me, especially my friends. So when I had my first business, people kind of liked it because it was like, oh, partying, yeah, it's fun, it's kind of easy. When I had the second business, the e-commerce company, people were like, but you're not the smart one. Like, you know, I studied all during my GCSEs, the equivalent in Ireland is called like leaving cert. I did like bang average. Went to university, didn't actually perform well in university to be fair, but that was just because I worked really hard. But they were like, you're a normal guy, so like, how can you do this thing? And then they would kind of chip away. I'm like, no, it's not going to work, because like, you're not smart, whatever. And then I would be kind of proving to them, like, no, look, this is working. And it was always this like me seeking external approval and be like, oh, like, what do you think it is? And I'm like, nah, that wouldn't work. But then what happened was I stopped doing things for profit and I started doing things for like education. So I slowed down, listened and learned, started my podcast, started my content. This was the first pursuit that was non-monetary in the beginning, for sure. And it was more just like, oh, like cute little hobby this guy's doing on the side. And then as a result of that, they kind of like let me be, even though like, you know, I can obviously do what I want, but it was like, there was less pressure from people. Okay? Yeah. Just creating content. And then what happened was about a year and a half into that, it started to quickly boom, but not from like an audience growth perspective, from an interest from other business owners looking for me to help them and consult with them on their content. And that like really just kind of came out of nowhere. It was, I started kind of coaching people, consulting with companies. They really liked it. I was able to help these really big companies. And then all of a sudden, dude, I was making like, you know, 15K a month. And then I would tell my friends and they were like, but no, this isn't possible. Because you're the guy back here who doesn't do those things. And then they would get extremely jealous. I'd say, yeah, but I'm doing this thing, and I'm building this agency, I'm doing this. I'm like, bro, like, respectfully, like, I don't care. And also, best luck to you. And it was when I realized that those friends are not actually my real friends. And those friends wanted to keep me in that position where they knew me when I was younger. Drinking beer, going out partying. And that's what they remember you as. It's partly not their fault, because you always recognize someone for someone in like their past life. Yeah. Like, oh yeah, like Johnny was like this. He was like this when he was younger and so on. But they never adapted out of fear, jealousy, and it's because it was a mirror to themselves of the person that they didn't become. And now at that time, I was still just like an ordinary person, and I still am an ordinary person, but they weren't there to actually like clap and actually support you at any given point. So the second I knew that, I was like, this is over. This is over with them. Like, it's completely over. And I knew this because the signals that came back was really negative. And it gets to this point, and I always say this, when you first start, everyone laughs at you. When you're stuck and you need help, everyone ignores you. But everyone claps for you at the finish line. And they're like, I knew this was going to work out, man. I always knew this. Those same guys are the same guys that threw your content into a group chat and said, haha, loser. Those are the same guys who unfollowed you when things were tough and you were looking for support. And those are the same guys who message you today looking for intros and looking to work at your company. It's always the same pattern, man. Over and over again. And that's when now, quite frankly, with our software company, like, I know it looks like shit right now. I know the interface isn't done. I know that the social media account is small, but I don't care because I know what's happening. I know what part we're in. But the people around me that I want to get their feedback on, they're the ones who are giving the feedback. My clients who are going to be using the software. My network of other like tech founders who have experience in this space. Like they're the ones that are supporting me. All those guys that are like, laughing at it, like the second that they start seeing like the TechCrunch articles is when they're going to come around and be like, man, that's so awesome. Any chance you have an internship? You know, and it's always that same idea. So I quickly tried to neutralize that, and that was genuinely the biggest thing that I had to overcome. And that's a great like relief, because now just in my own world, you know, and you get to the point whereby you don't care about it, you don't think about it, you don't let it affect you, because it affects them and they give energy towards it, but you don't need to give any energy towards them.
Yeah, I always remember the first time because I think anyone that's climbing any kind of ladder is going to experience that. It doesn't matter if it's athleticism, if it's like financially, if it's they're building a business. And I think the thing that caught me off guard most is that the first time it happens with a group of people that you classed as your new group of people. So like, even, like, so you have like maybe people that you kind of started out with, that you grew up with, then you had some people that you maybe met through certain networks that are aligned with you, and then you start doing, you're like, oh, this is great, I've got all these people that now get this, they understand it. But at every sort of level, if I look at the different points in my life and chapters, like when I joined the military, then it was like, then it was like when I left the military, then it was when I started running my own business, then when I started making content, then when I started my podcast, and at every single level, there was people that always surprised me that would almost kind of rain on your parade.
Okay, let me give you a bit more perspective on this, because obviously like the brokies are going to be the brokies, right? It is what it is. That's like a very obvious thing. Like they're going to stay stuck, you know, quite literally making 30K a year forever, right? Hopeless. Like there's nothing you can do about that. But then when you start getting into like different layers, we'll just use business as an example first. The same thing will happen. So when I started with my content, I had many people that were around me that were creating content, like pure content creators, who were like, oh, money doesn't happen, money doesn't come to it. And I was like, what the fuck are you talking about? Like, you can just be a business owner who creates content. You don't have to be a content creator who's trying to go famous and go viral. So I was like, that doesn't serve me anymore. So that helped me in that stage of my life. But they were happy to stay stuck. And I was like, I'm done with this. I outgrew this. And then same with like the agency. I know many guys that like really suffer with their agency, like suffer, and they like love to suffer. And I'm like, dude, like that's totally on you. You know, like you do get to this like kind of a bit of a cap with the agency for a while. And I know many guys who've stayed in there and they're just suffering. And then I know many coaches that are exact same thing. So it's like, you understand, okay, I like that. I don't like this part. I'm going to take this. I'm going to move on. And that's why it's okay to work with a coach and then finish with it. Like outgrow that season of life, because now you're on to the next biggest thing, which is completely fine. Completely fine. Now, the caveat that we have set up is that we're actually designed so that people go through their entire journey with us. Yeah. They can be almost beginner if we don't work with actual beginners, but almost beginners. And then they become 6-figure entrepreneurs, and then become 7-figure, and then become 8-figure entrepreneurs, and we're their outsourced marketing company. You know, and that's when we have the full sales cycle with people, and that's why people are with us for 4 years, right? So that was engineered. But most coaches and service providers get stuck providing one thing for someone, and you outgrow them. And that's totally okay, because that's the way life should be. Like, you should be evolving. And a lot of my kind of mentors, a lot of them are on my podcast and stuff, a lot of them are like lifestyle entrepreneurs, and they were helpful for me to get out of my 9 to 5 and get in and make like my first like 10K or whatever. But then because some of them are like 40 and 50, they're at a different stage of life. And they're like really chill and like, yeah, like take it easy and so on and so forth. Dude, I'm 29. Like, what else am I going to be doing? I don't have kids. I don't have anything to do. I have like cleaners and stuff in my house. I'm not going to do anything at home. There's nothing I got to do. I got to go to the gym, go on a treadmill, and I got to like build a business. Like, I have nothing to do in my day. And someone's like, oh, but go do something else. I enjoy doing this. So it's like the stage that I'm at in my life, again, back to the windows of opportunity. The window of opportunity that I'm in, I want to capitalize on it. And that's totally okay. And it's totally okay to evolve and be a different person. And that's why it's like, okay, if someone else doesn't want to come for it, that's completely fine. You can totally do what you want. But I'm still going in this direction. Yeah. Let's be clear. Just because you don't want to go in that direction doesn't mean I don't have to go in that direction. Yeah. The only caveat to that is maybe your misses. It's like, that's why you want to be with someone that you're on like a trajectory with. Mm-hmm. So like, it was very clear when I got married, and I said to Elise, I was like, you know, I'm looking to do like really big things. I want to do like a really big exit. I could be delusional, but I do think that I can get to like at least 8 figures and an exit. Like, I do think I can get to there, and that's my goal. My goal isn't like to chill out and relax. And then she's part of that mission. And it's funny because she's also now working at the company and doing better than probably if I hired someone to do it, right?
Which is good.
Which is really, really good, you know? So it's because that's why I said like, it has to be all values aligned. And because your partner is someone that like actually lives with you and works with you and everything, you want that to be in alignment. And yeah, man, I think that's like really, really important. So I've given a lot of thought to this, and then I've stopped giving thought to it. Because it's like, okay, that's it, fine. So now I can like read the energy of the room or read energy of feedback. Like I had feedback someone said to me before, they're like, oh, you should slow down a little bit. And I'm like, no. You should slow down what you're doing. I'm fine. You know, I'm fine, man. Like we're at different stages, you know?
Mm-hmm. It's really important to listen to that as well, because a lot of people are taking advice from people that are at different stages of life, different chapters. And I heard something recently, was Chris Williamson said it in multiple podcasts, but it's like, don't copy the person. I can't remember exactly what it is. I'm probably going to butcher it, but model the rise. Don't model where they're at now.
Yeah. And, you know, people buy coaches, people don't buy coaching, right?
Yeah.
So if you're looking at like someone like yourself, let's say, or someone like myself, it's like you don't need to emulate all different factors of it, right? You want to emulate maybe the results. So you work with someone who has the results that you want, and then has characteristic traits that you may want to emulate. You don't need to emulate all of it. The reason why I know this is true is because majority of my clients are female. They're not going to emulate the behaviors that I have, but a lot of them want high logic, which is the reason why a lot of them work with us. And it's like, because of that, I'm like, do this in this way, in that order, done. What you do in your personal life, totally up to you. But if you just do this, you'll solve this issue. And yeah, we can talk about some other things too, but I think that's really, really important. It's something that I've taken a lot of time to do. Now, the caveat to this is the reason why I hate some of the coaches is because they know this. So they lean into it. Chill on the beach. Relax. Don't take sales calls. You know, send people Google Docs. And if they say to hop on a sales call, tell them no. It's like, you have to also be serving, not just self-serving. Now, we are all not fully altruistic individuals. We do obviously have self-motives and self-interest. But at the same time, though, you can spot a mile away if like an aspirational identity person is very self-interested versus interested in what your goals are. Yeah. And I think that's a huge, huge component of the business that you design and the results that you get. Mm-hmm. You know, the results that we get for people are really good, and the results that we have for ourselves are really good, because I'll sit on WhatsApp and I'll speak to a lot of my close clients and make sure that everything is sorted. Like, if they have a fear, we go in and solve that issue. If they have a logical issue, and so on and so forth. So, yeah, and I think that's really interesting. And then the question is like, oh, how do you find time to this? How do you do this? Two things. It's like, one, life's design. How did you design your life to build a business that you want? And then secondly, then like, who do you have coming with you? What's the team structure? Yeah. You know, are these people with you? Are they like blood brothers, or are they just here for a season? Yeah. And then also, conversely, we talk about friends being at different stages of your business. What about your team? Because maybe the team that you have isn't the team that's going to get you to where you want to get to. Yeah. And part of personal development is that everyone needs to develop, and your team also need to develop. If they're not willing to develop, they're not willing to be part of the party. Yeah. They need to go. Because you'll find different people. And let me give an example. If you have a closer, okay, if you take sales calls until you make, let's say, 50K a month, and then you put in like a bang average closer, and he helps you get to 100K a month. Well, now because you're making 100K a month, you can get a pretty damn good closer. Do you get me? You can get like a person with 3 years experience because you've made the money. Now you cut guy A, option 1, you bring in the new guy. Or option 2, you keep the guy, you bring in the new guy gets his shit together, he steps up to the plate, and now you both go to 500. Yeah. Right? And that's why a huge frustration that I have, that's something that I really can't settle with, is I just don't understand why people can't do what they're meant to do. I just don't understand how a sales rep can't get up and do what he's meant to do. I just can't understand how an editor doesn't get up and just does what he has to do. I don't get it, because the outcome that they want, more money, more time, more peace, whatever that may be, is there. It's on the other end of just doing the thing. And thankfully, I would like to say that I never, ever, ever, ever avoid what I need to do. I don't think I've never done that. Now, I'm not saying that I do things at a really high level, but when the path is quite clear to improve your fitness, your training, your business, I would like to say that I just do it. Same with you. I see you pounding that treadmill, and it's like, you might not have felt it, you might have an issue with your calf, your hamstring could be sore, but you just did the thing, you know? And a lot of life is actually life's failures are a lack of consistency. Yeah. It's not a lack of talent. And I know this to be true because I run multiple sales teams, and sales teams are based on performance, and a lot of times personal problems show up in their business and in their work, and it's always a personal issue. And I know this because I run multiple different sales teams, and that's why it's called a sales performance, not just workload, because it's about performing. And that's why you see like a Premier League football player being benched and his head's down and everything, because he doesn't have a skill issue. He has a mindset issue. And they go through those peaks and troughs. And the biggest thing here is if you're at that point and you're really, really struggling with something to try get it right, and you know you have the skill, a big part of this is the willingness to get back. Get back to target, get back to your work, get back to your running and so on. If you're not willing to do it, no one can help you.
You have to make the thing that you're chasing your personality. That is a truth.
Identity.
You have to make it everything. Like, I was having this chat the other day with a couple of clients about energy. And these are our clients inside RTL, and we're talking a lot about the energy that they're bringing, where they're feeling right now. And they were openly saying in a bit of a contracted state, like just feeling the pressure, like lots of things not going to plan and stuff. And it was something that you said to me. It's like people can feel it. Yeah, people can feel it, even when you're not like you're showing up like with great intentions. But when you get into that point where your energy's not in the right spot and you're not showing up with the right intent, the thing that starts to slip is because you can sit and say, I done this, I done that, I posted that thing, I done that thing you said you were going to do. But when you're not truly bought into something, it's the little nuances that start to get missed. Yeah. And that's the stuff that you can't teach anyone. And see, when you working with someone and they just get it, that you can just tell that like they're coming at you with like certain things, they're giving you unsolicited updates, they're sending you across stuff. You're like, I haven't asked them to do any of this.
So they have to be about it, right? So you want to hire people, you want to work with people, you want to be the person who's genuinely obsessed with what you do. You want to be that guy that goes home from work, whatever, and you're actually sitting on YouTube and you're finding this random weirdo with 200 views per video. You're like, this guy's fucking sick. I like this guy. You're taking notes on it. You want to be so obsessed with your topic. That's what you're doing every single day. Consumption, it's identity. Because if you're not the person that you want to be yet, you have to change that internal dialogue to become the person that gets there, right? I am so delusional, like incredibly delusional, to the point that I just don't think about not succeeding. I just don't think about it. I never thought about it. I don't give energy towards it. And I'm not just like a random like, oh yeah, everything's going to be perfect. I know there's going to be issues, but I don't give time to it. Because the identity that I need to become, the person I need to become, needs to make these decisions. And then when it comes down to decision-making framework, it's like, okay, well, does the person that I want to become make these decisions or do these actions? So a typical thing, let's use fitness as a context. It's like, does someone who runs a 1 hour High Rocks get cravings at night and then says, I'm just going to have a cheat meal and just eat like loads of like Kimberly biscuits? No, they don't do that shit. They regulate, they fix it, they fix the internal dialogue to stop having cravings. I've never really had cravings when I'm dieting, never. That's never really came up to me. Same with in a business context. If something goes wrong, do you look to find like an actual permanent solution so that you can move on from this forever? Or do you start getting caught in rumination? You know, so I'll give you a personal example. Like right now, we're hiring for a sales manager, a sales director. It's like a really big role. And when I initially said it to one of our reps, he was like, "Oh, but like you're better at managing a sales team than most other people because I coach sales teams." And I was like, "Yeah, man, but like you're missing the point. Like a company that makes 10 million a year in revenue, the CEO isn't the sales manager checking the DMs. The sales manager is." And a sales manager is as good, if not better, than the previous guy because he was coached in that right way. So I know what you're thinking in the short term, but please zoom out and look at where we want to go to. Because I'm making those decisions. And it's like, oh, what's the delta? How long is it going to take to kick in? I don't know, 6 months, 9 months for that to really ramp. It's like, it's 9 months. But dude, like life is long, right? Business is long. Like I've been doing this business for a long time. If it takes me 9 months to get a director of sales in to start like really cooking, and he starts making $1 million a month, it's like that was worth it. Yeah, that was worth it.
The biggest thing I've got from spending time with yourself and working with you is like what's actually required. Like that's the thing that like I always remember. It was a video I seen recently, and it was a Hormozy video, and he was talking about when he got a new like marketing director and they had this conversation. They were on Zoom and he went, right, what's your first project? And he's like, right, let's do it. He's like, 8 hours later, I finished. Then I said to him, what's the next one? He said, in that moment, I could see the guy's eyes unfold about what hard work actually was.
Yep.
And a lot of people, we see this when we run our retreats and our training camps. People go,
Yeah.
they're like, you really do wake up at the same time every day. Like, you really do, like, eat like this all the time. I thought it was just for show. Like, they don't, they spend time with people, and the more time you spend with people doing the thing that you want to do, it's osmosis. Like, you start to go, I get that. That's not, like, I was saying to you recently with ads, I was running 2 ads. You were like, bro, I'm running 35.
Right now I'm running 76.
So,
Click on Ads Manager, type in Voix. You'll see me running 76 different ads right now to 2 different funnels.
it's crazy.
Why? Because I'd seen a lot of the big guys doing it, and I was like, well, if they're doing it, I'm going to do it. Instead of being like, but Mary does 1 ad. It's like, fuck Mary. It's like, where do I want to get to? Who's the person that has the results that I want to get to? Okay, fine. Hormozzi's running 50 different ads. Maybe I should do that.
Yeah.
Right? And it's like, maybe I should sit down into the office, in my studio, and do different variations, which is what I did. And it's ironic because I brought in a guy who's amazing, this Australian guy. He's a great dude, great gentleman. He's in the agency. And we just vibe straight away. And I was like, I know where I want to go. I need someone that's going to help me. Can you do this? He's like, done. And it works both ways. We're clients too, right? So, like, he'll be happy for me to say this. So, one of my clients, Morgan Nelson, very well-known guy in, like, the event space. And it's funny because he said to me on a call, he was like, I'm a psychopath. And I was like, same. And on our first day, we built a full offer from scratch. Pricing, deliverables, how he's going to do delivery, who's going to be the CSM and everything. We then built the full acquisition strategy, which meant like all the emails on the same call. We then built the full sales process on the back end, all on the same call. And it got to the point where I was like, dude, I need to go to another call. And he was like, but what about this? What about this? And he was kind of driving me. And my CEO turned around and he was like, you finally met someone who's kind of like you. Swear to God on the call. He just turned around in the office and he was like, that was a pretty intense call. And I was like, yeah, man. And it was like straight away. It was like, here's the offer. Here's that done. Okay, perfect. Amazing. Here's the pricing done. Here's the payment plans. Okay, perfect. Here's the infrastructure. And it's just like, a lot of the time you rise or fall to that level. Mm-hmm. And this guy prioritizes speed and quality. And then he was going and I was like, fucking hell, all right, we're going. And it was like 6:30, 7:30 p.m. It was also really late for him. He's based in Australia. And I was like, all right, like, this is a standard. And this guy is a very successful entrepreneur and he's done some really big things. And that's why I was like, well, success leaves clues, right? And it was just like this thing that we could wrap out all together. And I just thought to myself, maybe I need to go faster.
Yeah. It's crazy when you actually spend a bit of time with people. And it's like, I think training is one of the best examples.
Yeah.
You spend a bit of time with someone.
We should train more together. I know you don't do weights.
I train hamstrings and chest.
No, you do Pilates, and you put the little weight on the Pilates.
I do lift weights, by the way.
I don't know.
But yeah, and you spend time with someone, and it's not even the things that they say. Yeah. It's actions speak louder than words.
Always.
The power that someone can produce, the way that someone can tolerate something, even like a good entrepreneur, when you spend time with them, and you hear them casually talk about something that's crippling you.
Yes.
And you're like, whoa. You're like, that, like, I need to wake up, man. Like, it's me. You know what I mean? It's always you.
Yeah.
And see, one of my main questions is, do you think some people are better built to be entrepreneurs than other people?
The question is actually, do you think that people are more resilient than others?
Yeah.
Because that's actually the question.
Yeah.
Is can people handle more stress, more chewing glass, and just come back at it? So my father-in-law did medical sales, made a ton of money back in the 90s and so on. And we're identical. And he's like, Southern American, and like, he's kind of like lay it back in his armchair these days. And he would just frequently turn and he was like, we are just people that can just wake up after a slaughtering and just do it again. And it's not like, do you have a smile on your face or not? It's more just like, you'll just do it until. Mm-hmm. And it's like, how long? It's like, I don't know. It's just until.
Yeah.
Whereas a lot of people are like, but is there breaks? And like, is there a base salary? It's just like,
people are asking questions that you're like, man, you can't do this.
You're fucked.
Like you're
cooked.
Like the fact that you're worried about this right now and you haven't even done the thing and you're asking me this question.
Yeah.
Like, How about you ask some other questions? Like these questions are not productive questions.
That's interesting, right? Because you kind of judge someone's like emotional ability and also like their technical ability by the level of the questions. And that's why, because I train so many sales reps, I'm always like, the biggest reason why I know you're going to fail is if you don't ask me questions. Because they should be like, and how does that work? And how does this work? And why is it like this? And why is it not like that? That's the making of someone who's great, is like overly curious. And that's why I always say people love people who are obsessed. Because dude, I've just been historically really stupid. Just historically. Just really slow to get things. Find things difficult. But I was always so curious. You know? And I was always so curious. And then I would always lean in that. And like, and this was like me as a young guy, like, you know, 18, 19, 20 or 21, early 25s. And people would really like grasp to it. Because there's someone like, okay, this guy's actually, he cares. He's interested. And yeah, that's what I think about it. So then to answer the actual question, it's like you have that, and then you have life factor, and then you have how comfortable they are, right? And you can see how comfortable someone is by their physique, right? Is it soft? The physique, because that's how the lifestyle is. Is it hard? Is it someone that wants to push through? They want to try new things. You can judge it. And I'm like, yeah, maybe fitness isn't always the best example for like a business, but at least it's like that's like a representation. And then what I do find kind of difficult too is to understand is like people's like kind of break points. It's like there's a reason why. Okay, there's a few things here. There's a reason why so little businesses globally have ever hit 1 million a year. I think this statistic, you probably look it up on ChatGPT, but it's like worryingly low. So people know the fact that it's in America, it's like the 10 million, it's like 0.3% businesses. But if you looked at it globally, man, I think it's like, it's crazily low. Some of it is technical ability. But dude, it's not rocket science. It's just get clients, don't fuck up the delivery. Get clients, don't fuck up the delivery. Get clients, ask the clients to introduce you to other people. It's not that complicated. A lot of it is them getting in their own way, which we talked about in the start of the podcast, which is the self-sabotage element. But the two is how comfortable it is. Because then they've got the external validation, and then they've just slowed down and got lazy. And that bite that comes out of you, again, if the willingness isn't there, I don't think you can get it back. And it's very, very true. So there's a few different factors as you get older. Obviously, it's lifestyle factors. Other factors are actually like testosterone. When that starts decreasing as a man, the willingness, the drive goes down. Like that is 100% proven. Like the drive goes down, the drive component of the brain. And then it's like external factors, like maybe you're married and your kids and so on. Now, I'm not saying you don't have to do those things. Obviously, you can do them if you want to. But I'm saying like that's the reason why external world puts pressure on you to perform and then you don't perform. Or sorry, it's the antithesis of it. It's putting pressure on and then you bounce and deflect negatively and you don't do the thing. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it makes total sense.
So that's, I think about this a lot because I just see it, right? And I won't go into too much detail, but like, you know, we have a very large program. We've had a lot of competitors over the years and a lot of them are out and they're gone. And I would say that a lot of them were more talented than us, but they all quit due to lifestyle factors. And it was all engineered, right? Whether positive or negative, I don't know. But they had lifestyle factors, whether they had like loads of kids or they got divorced, they got remarried, whatever that may be. But they're out. And it was like interesting because when we were starting, or not starting, but we were kind of scaling up, I would say to a lot of my leadership team, like, we're going for this market. This is the way we want to position ourselves. This is how we get there. And they would say to me, like, oh, do you think we're like good enough to do that? And I'm like, honestly, man, it's not about being that good. It's actually about just staying, you know? It's just about staying. And it's about staying in the market. It's like, honestly, I don't actually think you need to be that good. Because one thing I have really thought about, especially in marketing, is that you produce content or you build a business to show that you're competent. So competency goes up. And if you produce enough content, your competency will generally get to like an 8 or a 9 out of 10. And at that point, competency doesn't go up. You don't become more competent with your content. If I'm teaching you sales, I don't need to create more sales content to prove to you that I can do it. There's just a general vibe. The second side of that argument is warmth, enjoyment, and how much that person likes it and sees it. So that is a sliding scale. And if I see you hate your life, I don't care how good you are, I'm not going to buy your stuff.
Yeah.
And I know many guys that I can give you tangible examples afterwards. And the flip side, if I'm just someone who's pretty competent and I love it and I've been banging my head off the glass, but I'm coming back, let's go. And I can see that in people, man. I can see that in people. You know, and that's why I buy some people's coaching. And that's the reason why I have some certain mentors. Because I'm like, this person just loves it. He loves that fucking thing, you know? Yeah. And I see that in sport. I see that in business all along. And it's like, okay, so if that actually is one of the barometers to getting clients, then you need to lean into that. Yeah. You know? Like we're here on like a Thursday. Like I've been in the office since 6. I went to the gym. You probably went to the gym too. We're back. We have a coaching call afterwards. I have interviews tonight. Like well into tonight. Like interviews. Like how boring could that be? I'm like, all right. Like I'm just going to do it. Yeah. Because I need to do it. Because I know where I need to go to. And then that will attract someone who's like, I don't know what that thing is, but I want to go with that guy. Yeah. And he's on the back of this bus and he's like, I'm just going to follow this guy. And it's like, oh, awesome.
Yeah. More instances create more opportunities. It's just, I always remember you said to me at the start of the year where I launched the lower tier, see the build, and then when obviously ran that, decided that wasn't a lower tier, but the main program was a lower tier. Yeah. Like we realised that from that actual thing. But I remember when we done that, we actually had 2 people sign up going, I don't want to do the build, but I want to do this other thing.
That always happens.
And it's like, anything that you do and you take action on, and it's like, go back to that point of the identity. Yeah. People are like so adverse to the thing that they're already thinking about the problems, but then actually you're like, if you just like become obsessed with this thing, make it your personality, start consuming podcasts on it, talk to people about it, go to events where there are people doing the thing that you want to do, it will create instances, it will create opportunities that I can't even explain will come about. It'll be something so simple, like you'll be chatting to someone and then you'll be talking about the thing, then be like, oh, I know someone that can do that, or it's just, or you should go to this place because of that, or. And
this is where like serendipity happens. Like, so I was speaking to literally a 9-figure entrepreneur yesterday on Zoom. He's literally a 9-figure entrepreneur, and I know the guy because he was on my podcast. So like an opportunity was I had a podcast remotely with him, and I also had a podcast in person with him 2 years later. And he was like, "Oh fucking hell, like you're still around." I'm like, "Yeah, man, I also have this business." He's like, "Oh, interesting." And then he reached out to me, being like, "See yourself crushing it. Keep doing what you're doing. I have an opportunity for you." And then I hop on a call with this guy and he's like walking through how we could do like a partnership or something together. And I was like, I never anticipated this, but let me think about it. And let me like walk through it. And then I was like, I also have something that he may want. And I was like, maybe we could throw this into the deal. And he was like, yeah, sure. And it's like serendipity, opportunity, being in the right place. You create your own luck. Yeah. You know? And this, I looked up to this guy for a long time. I still do have huge respect for him. And then he's like, oh yeah, we could like work on this together. I'm like, yeah, fuck yeah, that's awesome. And it's like, and then the question is, where will that go? These things have a non-linear relationship. It could go up and down and left and right and so on, but it's a non-linear relationship. A linear relationship is like, I go to gym and I lift weight and hopefully bicep get better. Yeah. So it's like people keep thinking in linears, but dude, the biggest jumps in life are non-linear, right? And that actually is where asymmetrical returns come from. So after a while, when you're in business for a little bit, you're not looking for incremental gains, you're looking for asymmetrical gains. Yeah. So if I look at something that has a huge upside, like software is a great example. Like for me, with the same guy yesterday, I was like, all I need is 1,000 customers. If I can get 1,000 customers using this software, I'm going to be in a very good position. Let's put it this way. And those ticket prices are $200 up to $3,000 a month. And I was like, if I get 1,000 of them, my life will be very different. And it's like, that's an asymmetrical change. Mm-hmm. The money that we make from our software, I will never spend. It will all go back into product and development. I'm already losing so much money as it is from the thing. And it's like, but why am I doing it? I had a call with a client this morning. You might know him, Connor O'Leary. He's based here. Mm-hmm. He's a software company. And I changed like his I kind of broke him down a small bit. I was like, you're not doing this to make money. The whole goal here is not to make money. That's a total waste of time. The whole goal here is to build it, get revenue, rebuild stuff with the revenue, and then sell the fucking thing. And that's what we've been working on together for the past 3 months. And I'm getting him to hound outbound, get big clients and so on. Why? If he gets a few big clients, he can just sell it to them. Here, just take it off my hands. Cut me a check for 6 figures or maybe 7 figures. And they would basically cannibalize it and absorb it. And I'm like, bro, man, that's the game. Like that's what you're trying to actually do here. Yeah. And he was like, oh yeah, I'm just kind of a bit of like a lifestyle business. I'm like, no, man, like that's not what's happening here. Yeah. You know,
always comes back to your level of thinking, man. Like what you're doing behind it, your intentions.
Like I'm on a coaching call screaming at him to sell it. Like I'm literally like, just get these deals over the line. Like just sign the contracts, get this person under your belt, and so on. And he's like, why? And I'm like, just fucking sell the thing. Just like, get it off your chest. And it's like, you have to. So that's where it's like system thinking, right? And I always talk about this where there's the physical and there's the metaphysical, and that's why you said never ever trust someone's words. Look at their actions. So like, what are they saying? What does that mean in terms of like the metaphysical underneath it, and then what's the result? What's the abstract from there? I know this is quite abstract, but it's important, right? Because you look at something like tactile, and then it's like, okay, what does that actually mean, and what does that infer? Most importantly, and that's why people's word tracks are really interesting. And because I review a lot of sales, I'm very dialed in terms of like what people are saying, and it's usually total bullshit. Because if I can look at what they say, I can generally have a look at what I might infer. You know, I don't think it's going to work. This is not going to work for me. I need to see more testimonials. Fear, right? I can generally analyze what is their actual reaction to what they're actually trying to say versus what they're saying. That's a lot of money, or now is not the right best time. Maybe it's a lack of information. They need more information. So it's interesting, man. I like to think about this stuff very deeply because a lot of the world won't.
Yeah.
Which is where the wedge is.
I call it the red dot. So it's like, you know, if someone's looking down a scope and it's like a dot, and I'm like, they're not saying what they're meant to be saying right now.
Yes.
Like, or what they want to say, or nah.
Call that bluff on a call.
Yeah, and you just look at someone and you're like, nah, they're not saying it. You maybe don't say that out loud, but in your mind you're just assessing it, going.
You want to know a little secret?
What?
I think I said this to you before. If you ever want to call someone out or say something negative to someone, you start off saying, "Can I give you some advice?"
I say that all the time.
And they say yes, and then I say the next word, which is respectfully, comma, and then I just rip them. always.
Really calmly.
Yeah, all really calmly.
Really
I'm like, what you just said is total bullshit. And I do that, so I don't take that many calls anymore these days. I do sometimes, but I'll always call someone out. Why? Because generally people actually appreciate it when you do it in a non-combative way, when you're looking at it from their perspective, from their best interest perspective.
Yeah.
So if someone's saying to me that they don't believe that using content is going to be helpful for their business, I'll be like, that's bullshit, because I think that you've had that belief because you've been doing it the wrong way, because you bought a personal brand course on LinkedIn and it obviously didn't work. So as a result of that, let's try creating content that actually makes money versus generating likes. And then people are like, this guy, whether I like him or dislike him, he's just straight, you know, and then they can make an assessment. And what I always like to say as well is that, like, for someone to buy your stuff, they don't actually have to like you, they have to respect you.
Yeah.
So if you're straight with someone and you're like, this is the way it is, this is the way it should be to get the result that you want to, and I have your interests at heart, and I do want you to succeed, someone's be like, okay, I get this.
Yeah.
You know, and that's why I think a lot of times, again, back to the emotion. Remove the emotion for a second, just for a second, right? I'm not asking you to date this person. I'm asking you to buy coaching from them. And it's like, just remove it. You don't need to fly. You know, it's like, will you fly in a plane long distance with a person? You don't need to do that, man. You got to hop on a Zoom call once a month with this person. And it's like, just look at what's best right now for the business. And is this person giving me some like tough love that's going to help me? And should I listen to them, and will I listen to them is most important.
Yeah, I think it gets to a point where you start to remove the emotion yourself as an entrepreneur, and you start to go like, I know that this person's not saying this to be vindictive. I'm past that point. I understand they're saying it with my best interest. They're not trying to lose clients. Like, and I think that's the thing. I would say that to like clients. Sometimes I'm like respectfully or like full transparency, I'm like, it's not my intention to not get you results. Like, I don't want for you to be sitting there going, oh my God, Kristian's made me worse. Ailey's made me worse. I am worse off than what I was as a result of working with you. And it's like, no, that's not the intention. But it goes back to, that's the drama triangle that I spoke about earlier. That's the persecutor. You start to go, you made me feel like you done this. Like, I feel like this because of you. And you're like, you're looking at this wrong.
There's another like kind of angle to take at this too, which is like looking at, are you okay for time?
Yeah, okay for time, yeah.
So I think I got really good at breaking things up into like methodical pieces. So like our program is like offer content sales, or Apex is like lead sales delivery. And generally I'd message someone randomly like, oh, like what's an update with this? Like what's working well, what's not working well? And someone might rip back and they're like, oh, like ads aren't working. And then like, we're not getting leads. And like, the leads are shit. Like, and then I can't close them. And then they're churning. Like, what's happening here? And it's like, woo, we have loads of different problems that we need to break down individually and then look at logically where is like that bottleneck. And I think that's where you need to kind of come in with a bit of a sobering thought process and be like, hey sir, like you're up 8 kg on your weighing scales. You've gone to the gym, but you've been eating like a pig. What's the reason why? So there's the symptom, there's a root cause, and then like there's actually solving the root cause. And it's like, can we both collectively work on that? Does that make sense? So I try to do this a lot with people because they'll just say shit that's like very, again, non-linear, but in the wrong way, non-linear actually. And they'll use like different talk tracks to speak about something. And the core essence could be, you know, they're not doing something, or what they're doing is wrong and they need to change one thing. And that's why I think, well, you probably notice a lot with fitness too, you never want to change too many variables at once. You know, if you're just going to change the calories, like we joked about before, this week I just changed my calories and it was like, phew, like that's different. Whereas if I change my calories and increase my cardio, I would feel shit, right? So it's like we got to be careful with which variables we're changing and what is the effect, basically.
I think that's the biggest thing that I want people to take away from this. Like, I think now, like, I think the world's really changing where a lot of people will be like, the steady, secure way is to be employed, and it's actually like, way everything's going right now, I'm like, I think it's changed. I think it's the other way around now.
What I always say is like the most comfortable and secure thing you can do is to take control of your future. So have a business that you control, that you run. That is the most secure thing that you could be doing for yourself, for your family, and for everyone. And then specifically on the conversation, it's like, where are you getting the filtration of information that you have? Where are you what are you telling yourself, and where are you getting that information from? And regardless of where you're getting information from, you have the opportunity to rewrite that dialogue. You can just rewrite it. And it's like an old CD, man, right? You can just overrun it and do it again. I think because you're such a great testament of that, like from Scotland, likewise from myself from Ireland. It's like we're no different, no better, no worse, but we were just able to rewrite the dialogue, which rewrote the storyline.
Yeah.
And then use action out the storyline. Yeah. And then don't be a princess about it and quit the second you meet a bit of resistance.
I think there's like definitely a correlation between like where you're from and the level of beliefs that you have. Yeah. I think I was saying this about like certain places, especially UK and Ireland, that have similar accents. Like if you were to be like, right, what's the harsher accents? You'd be like Scottish, Irish, Scouse, like Geordie. It's like, right, what's the commonalities? It's like beliefs that you maybe have about yourself, working class backgrounds, like smaller areas and stuff. And there is these like beliefs that so many people have that from all my sort of travels and meeting different people, I'm like, they just don't have that to the same level. Like they have different, it's not saying that they don't have any, but like there is this direct correlation between like where you're from and the narrative that's like really embedded into you.
And again, everyone has this, right? If you looked at like, we've got like German clients, right? And they're just like so by the book and they're like kind of like skeptical, like very skeptical, you know? And then when I lived in Singapore, I had a lot of Singaporean clients and they're like, they just kind of question themselves a lot because they're very insular as like a country. You know, they're very like, ooh, scary. You know, don't leave, scary. That's actually a big kind of ethos in Singapore. So they question things a lot. And then, yeah, like, you know, I've worked with a lot of people in China as well. They don't work with like a lot of foreign companies because like the dialogue is like bad, you know, no, keep it inside. So knowing that is fair. And then it's just like what you do with information though. Yeah. You know, like what you do with that information. Who am I speaking to? What's the dialogue? Yeah, man. Big thank you to you. You're a legend. I thought we should. I was prepared to go for another hour.
Yeah, so was I, mate. But then, see with podcasts, when they go on like this, I'm like, right, we need to like tone this down because I don't want them chapping on the door and going like, we need to get out of here now.
Yeah.
But yeah, guys, thanks very much for coming on, mate. It's been mega. We've been wanting to do this for ages as well. Yeah. And obviously, make sure that you've hit subscribe to the channel. And if you want to find Darren, I'll link his details in the description below.
Legend, bro.
Yeah, mate. Thanks very much, bro.
You're awesome. A legend.